Hello and welcome to episode 325 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and a lot of NBA free agency this week.
I guess we can
With
declare, everyone has declared a winner of free agency, and
yeah,
that's LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers.
yeah, they made a lot of moves,
We'll just recap them
and
real.
it surprised me a little bit.
Yeah. They picked up Vanderbilt's option, which seemed like a no brainer. They brought back Reeves. They brought back Hachimura. They also brought back the Aaron Russell, which I thought was sort of weird, right? Because
Yeah,
I guess he's trade bait or, trade fodder for later. They got Reeves on a great deal. He looked like a real player. They also signed Gabe Vincent. They signed Cam Reddish. And they signed Jackson Hayes to go with the team they already had. And somehow all that money did not put them too far into the apron.
yeah, we can't figure that out. Jason and I decided we need a new math course.
Yeah, because that's above my pay
It
grade.
seems to me that would be like $1 billion, but who knows?
But that's a lot of new rotation guys. That's some guys on winning teams. I know you're not the biggest Gabe Vincent guy, but you know he's going to be their third or fourth guard, which isn't the worst thing, right?
No, I was disappointed the way he played for Miami in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, at some point Miami was going to get exposed with the size of the players they had, because Gabe Vincent is not a big fella, and Bam can't be the only size you have out there, but. I like the Cam Reddish signing. I think that's he's another 6'8" forward who when he came out of Duke could shoot. He's still only 23. But again, like we said, it's like every free agency, whether you're talking NBA, NHL, NBA, or whatever it is, like the team that seemingly makes the most move and the most splashes is the team that everyone's like, look out, they're the winners. But to be fair, they played really good once they put this core together with Reeves and Hachimura, LeBron, and AD, right?
They really did.
They seemed like they gave Denver the most, even though they were swept, it seemed like they were the most difficult team Denver had to play, including the Suns and the Heat.
What was it, like 25 points total in the 4 games?
25 points total in the 4 games.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
seemingly... yeah.
It was a sweep, but it wasn't a blowout.
No, and the Lakers never got blown out. And it seems like you've made your team better, and you're going to have a year to gel with that core. The only weakness the Lakers seemingly have is Anthony Davis's brittleness,
Yeah,
and LeBron James's age. So, but yeah,
and let's see where it goes. I mean, they might not even be done yet.
no,
And they got the Russell thing, and he could move him for something. They could be a party to a 3-team trade to help out somebody. It's good. We're quickly into the free agency, but we still got plenty of time.
we do, and yeah, I guess we'll hit some highlights and see what you think about these. Fred VanVleet to the Rockets. He got $130 million for 3 years.
Yep.
Which
And
is,
you know what else he got? James Harden's money.
he got James Harden's money. Honestly, Van Fleet seems like more of an adult and the kind of guy you'd want around some of your younger players.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you do have young guards down there in Amen and obviously Jalen Green and some other young scorers you want to build around. So it seems like that's a smart move. Like you bring an adult in the building, sort of a role model. You spend that
I
money.
never understood why they would sign James Harden,
No.
other than the fact that they could. I had no idea why they would.
He also, now, I've seen people defend James Harden where Harden said that, the only reason he quit on the Rockets is they refused to trade him, but you signed a contract there, so it's one of those whole but if somebody quit on me, clearly,
Yeah.
it's been over a decade of playoff failures, right?
Right.
Like every time there's a big game, he comes up small, and not just, and again, as people have pointed out, if James Harden was, 3 of 20 with 5 fouls, and but he's like, 6 points on 4 of 11 shooting, and you're like, what,
Yeah. It just, if you quit on me once, I'm willing to say there's a good chance you'd quit on me again.
And he quit on
You can't
Brooklyn.
go there.
Yeah, he quit on the Nets the next year, and he's asking for the third time in 5 years to be traded.
Yeah, I mean, and the window's getting narrower and narrower.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think he's going to end up staying where he is.
It seems like it because one of our podcast's favorite players, Russ, Westbrook signed a 2-year, $8 million deal to stay with the Clippers. And so now that would seem to be the destination. It was like Houston, stay in Philly, or go to the Clippers. And I guess you could have Paul, Kawhi, Russ, and Harden.
Yeah.
Would be your team. I know you're, LA, that's a lot of stars. You can't really, be too upset with
You
that.
do have a new arena opening up, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth that. No, but there's still one other possibility for him to go. If he doesn't stay in Philadelphia, I see one likely landing place.
And where's that?
The New York Knicks.
It is the most Nick-like move to take a slightly
It's a very Nick-like move, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. To take a completely washed star and bring him in. But the other problem is you get certain guys that seem to age and understand that they can't play the way they used to play and be effective all the time. And then you get the Allen Iversons that just never goes off. They still want to be that guy. And if I've got Brunson and I've started to gain some credibility with my fan base, I don't see how bringing Harden in helps the Knicks.
I don't either. But again, you're in a market with really expensive prices that expect stars. There you go.
But I've also heard the Knicks are hoping that the other disgruntled Philadelphia 76er quietly asked for a trade, and then where his agent technically works is for the Knicks, and maybe it's a Joel Embiid, Jalen Brunson, Patrick Ewing 2.0 Knicks kind of situation.
Well, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
They would burn down the arena in Philadelphia, though.
They would. I think we have Embiid, who's 30 years old and probably growing a little bit frustrated with that organization. The next team I want to talk about is the Bucks, who basically are just running it back with 35-year-old Brook Lopez and 34-year-old oft-injured Chris Middleton are both back on, pretty decent deals for them. But how long is Giannis going to be happy with that team, do you think?
I don't know. I thought they really overpaid for Middleton.
I did too. And again,
I would have liked to have seen what the market was for Middleton. And if somebody wanted to pay that kind of money, let them go. There's better alternatives.
Yeah, the Middleton thing was a real bummer. Brook Lopez is still really good, but I don't know if 2 years, $48 million for Brook Lopez is, I don't know what that does for the Bucks.
Is it good investment spending? I don't know either.
I would probably say no.
Well, let's talk about the Mavericks.
Okay.
I was surprised they re-signed Kyrie because Kyrie is, I know he didn't get all he could get, but he was never going to get that anywhere because he's just too undependable, unpredictable, and inconsistent.
Yeah.
When he's good, he's very, very good. And when he's bad, he's very, very bad.
And he only plays when he wants to play. And I have to tell you, we talked about this offline a little bit, but I watch a lot of, YouTube clips of people's podcasts. And again, you get all sorts of players on these, Gilbert Arenas has a podcast, and just about every NBA player has a podcast at this point, right?
Pretty much.
I'm
surprised anybody listens to Gilbert Arenas, but go ahead.
But anytime Kyrie comes up, the amount of reverence current and former NBA players have for Kyrie is insane. Like, they just talk about him in these godlike ways where he's unguardable, and when he's locked in on defense, he's so smart, so good, and so technical, and he can finish in ways around the rim that other guys can't finish. And it just, I know we've seen that, but I feel like we've seen enough Kyrie that's not who Kyrie is. That's who Kyrie can be from time to time when he feels like it.
That's exactly accurate. And that's the problem.
Yeah. And it's weird, though, because I feel like every other player who has, who has done sort of what he's done. Like, you look at all the crap KD takes. Harden certainly deservedly so, but I feel like Kyrie also seems to just it's weird when you listen to other former, like I said, current former players talk about him. Like he's just beloved, and you know, he and Russ have it too. Where like if you listen to players talk versus the media talk, it's completely different. But at least Russ, you can't deny that the dude plays hard all the time.
Every game.
And I think the Lakers thing was just a toxic situation on both sides, and it's better that he's in the Clippers and everything else. But yeah,
And he gets to stay in his hometown, and he was obviously comfortable there. He obviously played really well there.
yeah. And he stays on the court, and their two other stars can't seem to stay near the court, so that also helps.
No. No. Well, let's talk about the big one. Let's talk about Dame.
Okay.
So you and I both hope he goes to Miami.
I would have a lot. We just feel like watching them, Adebayo, Dame, and Jimmy in the playoffs would just be super fun. I don't know if they'd win it all, but I would probably be rooting for them. They would become my sentimental favorite. Right?
Yeah, I'd like to see him there. I'd like to see him in a really, really good organization to end his career. I think it'd be good.
Yeah. And again, I feel like if you give any organization 11 seasons and you're playing hard every night and the only time you sit down is when they tell you to sit down, like...
Yeah, I respect him. I think he would have. I think he really wanted to stay till the draft.
Exactly.
And then he saw they were going to rebuild, and now he has to. It just wasn't in his DNA to be the guy asking out.
No.
Until it was really, and now he's asking out. So Portland it saves face for the franchise. It saves face for everybody. Everybody win-win. And I hope Portland gets a nice package for him from wherever the package comes from.
Yeah.
I hope they grow and become a good team again. And I hope Dame has a great last chapter.
And sort of like the Colts when they got Andrew Luck, like, who obviously never ended up being quite what Peyton Manning was. Like, Scoot feels like Dame 2.0 in a weird way. As a sort of a smaller, take over games, very intense guard, right? With a lot of personality, a lot of swagger. Like, I feel like they've just, sort of lucked into... maybe like I said, I like Victor a lot, but I think Scoot might end up being the most marketable, certainly over here, if he develops, star in a long time for America. I'm big on Scoot.
Where Scoot would have really fit in well and would have been adored and worshipped?
Where's that?
Where you live.
Oh, New Orleans, yeah. Like I said, I was pushing for that two.
They would have loved him in New Orleans.
And speaking of our team, New Orleans, there was more, I guess, video of a very fat Zion Williamson doing a 360 dunk and almost falling down with some little kids. So he can still do a 360 dunk in warm-ups. For whatever that's worth,
Yeah.
And again...
Sad story.
Yeah. And again, I understand, like, he's 23. Every time he's been on the court for the 140 out of the 300-something games he could have played, he's dynamic. Like, he's incredible. But it doesn't seem like he has a relationship with the players on this team down here, with this organization down here. And, if Derek Carr is able to come in and get the Saints going again, then, they're once again going to fade to the, it's the Saints town. Saints and parades and booze and food. And, and the Pelicans are always down, but now it's just a negative cloud over the city. And again, if he had been, it's also a city he hasn't embraced in 5 seasons. Or at least he doesn't see, he doesn't even live, he lives in Portland most of the time. So, yeah.
And that's interesting why he lives in Portland.
Yeah. Well, I also really like Oklahoma City did it, and the Kings did it. The Kings signed one of the they signed a 6'9" Sasha Venuskov, who, was league MVP in the EuroLeague, and then Oklahoma City signed Vasily Misic, who I think some people have watched over the years, another like 6'5" guard, and it's like you're bringing in some of the best players from the EuroLeague on like 3-year, $25 million deals to be part of your rotation, and I just think that it just makes a lot of sense, right?
And what we said offline: more talent, less drama.
Yeah, because I think there's probably a lot of people watching basketball, and maybe even some older front office people that still feel like it's 30 years ago, where the gap, you'll get the occasional, you know, flower in the dump that was European basketball. But now you look like the best players: Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Jamal Murray,
Victor.
Like, none of these guys are American. I know some are Canadian, which is like America Junior, but they're still not American.
No. And basketball, the NBA's become a global league, and global basketball's become the number 2 global sport in the world.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is.
I mean, the dream team that really brought attention to world basketball was from like the 80s. That was Magic Johnson, Bird, Jordan. Like, it's been 4 or 5 decades. Like, there's some really good players. And I just feel like if I'm looking at free agency and I'm looking at D'Angelo Russell, or I can go get, for the same price, I can get the EuroLeague MVP, I'm probably taking the EuroLeague MVP.
Again, low maintenance,
Yeah.
low drama, high talent.
Exactly.
I mean, and not going to be disruptive on your team.
Some other things I liked in free agency. I liked that Thomas Bryant signed with Miami. He was with Denver last year. He's 25. He only averages 12, 6, and 20 minutes. But he makes almost 70% of his twos and 44% of his threes. And he's another big body that you can just throw against.
Which Miami needed desperately.
Which they needed desperately. And no, he's probably your 7th or 8th guy, but that's still, a big body that can shoot threes and do everything else. And they got him on a 2-year, $5.4 million deal. Denver seems like they're very happy to have won the cup or the chip and now just stay under the apron. Because they've lost Bruce Brown, Thomas Bryant, Jeff Green, and all those guys went away on, outside of Bruce Brown, they all went away on really cheap deals. So,
yeah.
Because if you're the champs, you got to bring somebody in, right?
Well, I mean, they've got their core, so now they can pick up some guys to fit in. They need pieces, complementary role players.
Yeah.
But losing your 6th man, that's always big to me.
It's very big, yeah. Yeah. I don't think
switching gears, I could talk about ESPN and the layoffs, and I realize it's Disney, and, living in Orlando for as long as we did and still living in, what Disney does is there comes a time when no matter how good you are, it becomes a money thing for the mouse.
Yeah.
And they lop you off. And I watched it with a lot of my friends that worked at Disney Wide World of Sports, and it just became easier to replace them with younger, cheaper people, and they do that. There's no loyalty at Disney at all.
No.
I laugh all the time. People, are worship Disney, and their Disney fights. They get Disney license plates. They wear the ears. They wear the logo. There's no love there.
No.
I mean, it's a fantasy about a fantasy. But some of the layoffs at ESPN, I thought were, these are money saving issues. But really, if you want to save money issues, don't sign McAfee and don't give Stephen A. Smith $18 million a year.
Yeah.
But if you think that's what your business is, screaming in black tank tops, then that's what you got to do. So
yeah,
I'll see how it works out. I'm not rooting for them, though. I'm a little disappointed, especially Neil Everett was one of my favorites, and that was a hard one for me.
It seems like, McAfee, popped up on YouTube. Like you said, some of the Aaron Rodgers stuff, some of it was just that, he's got a lot of fresh takes. And, I know personally for me, he's got a guy that just talks Pittsburgh sports. And not a lot of national, Pittsburgh is sort of not, even the Steelers, despite the fact that they've won 6 titles, like they feel like they're an afterthought as far as like Disney or ESPN goes, as far as talking about them. So that was what part of it pulled me there. But I think it's something.
He got on the radar because Aaron Rodgers would talk to him and nobody else when Aaron Rodgers was the news for the last 2 years. So that worked out really well for McAfee, and he spun it into a gold mine.
Yeah, and he used his attention to be less Stephen A., less Kendrick Perkins than a lot of those people. Like, he's still very loud and animated, but he seems to have slightly more rational sports takes.
Yeah, he went to Harvard.
Yeah, and he comes off very humble, even though he's not, all that stuff. But I just feel like there'll be another like just bringing him over doesn't necessarily, win the day. Like I just feel like the way that things are developing right now, there's always somebody new coming up, but and he's sort of the people's champion because he was this YouTube guy, just him and his AJ Hawk smoking cigars, not really adding into the show. Some mulleted people, some weirdos talking, and just a very like this is the people's show.
But he became flavor of the month really quickly.
Very quickly.
He was on the college football show for ESPN and everything else. I mean, they maxed him out before they signed him. They had a lot of exposure from him.
And he also wrestled on SmackDown and did commentary for SmackDown WWE. So he really put himself out there and built a really nice audience. But we've seen that. I don't know. I just feel like there's gonna you can't always just fire your people and bring in somebody else because there's always going to be something. Whatever the new hotness is, there's going to be something, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's you never want to see anybody lose their job, and then it's also the kind of thing where shareholders can't. It seems unsustainable with any business and in general. Like profits can't consistently go up constantly without eventually sacrificing your actual product. You can make tweaks around the margins, but eventually if you keep making cuts to keep making profits go up every single percentage, if it's 5%, the next month it needs to be 6 and then it needs to be 7, eventually you wear away what you're actually doing and you end up costing yourself in the long run just to keep, people that have nothing to do with your actual success happy, I guess. But yeah. That's sort of America.
Well, I need a feel-good story now. So my feel-good story is going to be Ricky Fowler in the final round is 21 under. He's got a one-shot lead. And it began the day with one shot. He picked up another one shot, and the second place guy did too. So I would love to see Ricky Fowler win for the first time in over 4 years.
Yeah.
And he's got he's the spokesman for Rocket Mortgage. It's their tournament. The crowd is following him like they would follow Tiger. It's been really enjoyable to watch. And he's a really nice guy and he handles himself well. And he's very warm, friendly. He signed autographs. When he lost the U.S. Open, he was the last guy there, signed autographs for kids. I like Ricky. So I'm happy and I hope something good happens for Ricky.
Yeah. That would be really nice. I guess another feel-good story is more Ohtani.
My God, yes. 30 home runs by the end of June.
And I would say if you're baseball right now, if you can't find a way to make this bigger, I don't know what to do. Because, we're about to have a slow month of news. And you have maybe the most, as people have pointed out, like, he's doing stuff, better than the legendary Babe Ruth.
Since Babe Ruth.
Yeah. And even Babe Ruth's pitching stats weren't
this good.
No. They just weren't. And it's pretty incredible. And he seems like a cool part. Like, he seems cool, whatever that's worth. I know cool isn't a cool thing to say anymore, but whatever the equivalent of that is.
He's not making any noise about free agency or what he wants or whatever it is. He's just going about his business.
Yeah.
It's just a shame they can't win enough games.
No. I guess good news is they're hanging around, right? There's 7 games
they're
back.
They're hanging around.
Yeah. And they're in the wild. Are they in the wild? They're right out of the wild card right now. So. But we're not even in the All-Star.
They got to get postseason.
Yeah.
They can't trade them because they're going to be in the fight for the wild card. And really, if they trade him, you got to figure out a way to make him happy and pay him.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to be the most unique contract in baseball history. Because like what I said before is I'd say, okay, I'm going to give him 10% of the team.
Yeah.
I'll vest him in 10% of the team. If he plays so many years, he gets so many points a year. And I know you can't do that right now, but, is it worth it? I mean, what can you do? They say he's going to be a $50 million a year man. I think that's under. I think he's going to get more than $50 million a year.
I think he has. Like you said, he's one of the best hitters and one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He's also international. So you're getting, you're bringing fans in that, you maybe not get that are all excited. I mean, it's just so much all at once. Like, it's incredible. Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, and I'd hate to see him leave. That's just and if he goes to the Dodgers, which is, I guess, a reality,
Yeah.
he stays in LA. I mean, I don't think he's going to go anywhere but the West Coast.
No, the West
I
Coast.
really would be shocked if that happened.
It's very true. Yeah, it's just. But again, like I said, if he's the closest thing to baseball getting somebody beyond baseball. I don't know if that's quite the right way to put it, but he's bringing people into the state. You got to watch him. He's worth watching. And
Yeah,
baseball hasn't
and
had
I
that.
think baseball is smart now in that every team plays in every market. So every market this year, Otani's playing in every market.
But I just feel like, between the Baseball World Cup a season ago when we were talking about how exciting that was with Otani, you're about to come up on, like I said, NBA free agency is about to be sort of settled for a while. NFL, we haven't gone to camp yet. So, this is about as exciting as it's going to get for baseball. I guess it's the most airtime they're going to get. So they need to really do everything they can just to push him to the moon. And I don't really know what that would entail, but they need to do it.
Well, I saw 3 fantastic Pirate games last week in Pittsburgh. And we came home, and the Friday night game they were down 4-0, came back and won with a walk-off. And that was a really fun game to watch. But what I want to talk about, my business moment is nobody sells baseball on their broadcast better than the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. All right, so this weekend in Pittsburgh is called Luau Weekend. So Friday night, the giveaway was a bucket hat. Okay, a Hawaiian-themed bucket hat. Last night, it was a Hawaiian shirt. Today, it's sunglasses.
Oh, your whole outfit. Nice.
Your whole outfit. Friday night, they had 31,000. Yesterday, they had 35,000. And I saw the people wearing the hat that they got on Friday night with the shirt they got yesterday. Okay?
I like it.
Now, for 2 weeks leading up to these games, the broadcasters were wearing the shirts, wearing the hats, talking about it, and they just sold it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They did a great job of selling it, and it's not like, there's still a team under 500, but, I give kudos to the guy. The guy's name's Joe Billadu that picks out the promos. I give kudos to him for picking out stuff that people want, and I give kudos to the broadcasters for really selling it. And if you can create that interest and that demand and generate 35,000 people on a Saturday night for a 4th place team, that's a good job.
It's a great job, yeah. It's incredible. I think that's about all we know that NBA or the NHL draft just took place, but we have an NHL expert coming on at the end of July to talk a little more hockey for people. It'll be a slower month. We figure there's a lot going on today right.
Yes, and I think that it's interesting that you had these 2 number 1 picks, one in the NHL and one in the NBA, that were just hands down the pick.
Yeah.
Generational players, and so all the highlights I've seen of Connor, whatever his name is,
Bedard.
I apologize. Yeah, Bedard. I mean, he looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
But then when they interview him, it looks like he's 16 years old.
He's 17, so yeah, not far off.
Yeah.
Yeah, another generational talent to go in there with McDavid, to replace, the Ovies and the Sids of the world. And then in the NBA, yet another European star. And again, one that I really liked Victor in interviews too. Back to more positive NBA stuff.
Yeah, really positive for somebody that young.
Yeah, he comes across really cool in interviews. And again, if you've not seen Victor Wembanyama, he is going to get dunked on, and there'll be some moments this year where he looks like trash, but he's 7'5" with guard-like abilities and an 8-foot wingspan. He's absolutely freakish to watch. You have not seen whatever he is.
And you'll be able to watch the Summer League games on ESPN or wherever they're going to be.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus. So you're going to be able to watch Victor playing and see what he's all about.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA, like I said, the NBA brought in some good players. You got all the talk about it. Lakers and Knicks fairly relevant. Boston relevant. Miami relevant. This is,
Yeah.
And if Harden goes to the Clippers, that's another Los Angeles team that'll at least be full of headlines and highlights. with Russ, Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, and Russ. I mean, it'd be a fun team to watch in a weird way.
Yeah, could be. Or it could be one that baffles you.
Yeah.
Entertainment, I'm still talking Crowded Room. If you haven't watched it, get into it, try it out.
Yeah, we've been back. I mean, just back to when you visited. We've been rewatching all of Bob's Burgers, which is just a very funny show. So, but I've already mentioned Bob's Burgers in the past, but it's just really, really good.
I've been debating back and forth if I'm going to go to the theater to see the 80-year-old Harrison Ford.
It sounds like you can wait.
I think I'm going to pass on it. I think I'm going to wait till it comes to TV.
Yeah, it's like I feel like that might be one you can wait on. It sounds like based on the reviews. They said it's not the worst. That's always going to be Crystal Skull. But,
Yeah, but I guess, thank God for technology, because I can't see how an 80-year-old, how I'm going to be able to believe Harrison Ford is doing anything at 80 years old.
No. I wish I was more inclined to go back to the theater. I don't know what it is. I haven't, but the Jennifer Lawrence comedy looks pretty funny. And as she's pointed out in a few interviews, that's one experience that's always going to be better with a large group of people. Like sometimes you could argue that horror movies are better when you're by yourself. If you got a nice big sound system and screen, like an action movie can be just as good at your house. But a comedy, there is the infectiousness of laughter. And I have been tempted to just, pop over there and with 117 degrees
I have been tempted to go see that one too. And, what blows me away, she's 32 years old.
Yeah.
Playing, what, a 16-year-old or 18-year-old?
No, she's playing a 32-year-old. That's the story. Is that
she's playing a 32-year-old?
Yeah, it's based on a true story of parents that actually hired somebody off Craigslist to date their son. As loosely as they get, it is based on a true story. So,
but the woman they paid was that old?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they paid an adult to turn their son into a man before he became a loser in college.
Well, now I'm more interested in ever watching it.
Yeah, I watched a little interview with her. But like I said, I have thought about that, where it's like, there is something about being around a large group of people laughing that's just going to make you laugh.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that, unless you invite half the neighborhood to your house, you aren't going to be able to recreate in your living room. So, and the fact that it's 117 degrees here in New Orleans and we can't leave our house due to air quality, that maybe the movie theater sounds like a pretty good option.
Yeah. Well, I really, my food moment was going back to Beato's in Pittsburgh, and I had done that in April, so really nothing more to say than what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, we've looked at a few places. I have a semi-food moment for you you'll be proud of, Dad.
Okay.
We got biscuit sandwiches from one of your favorite breakfast spots. I know they're a little controversial, Chick-fil-A, but they make a really good biscuit at Chick-fil-A.
They do.
I think it might be the best breakfast sandwich in fast food. We had it at the airport when we were coming back from San Francisco. We were starving. And I've never had breakfast at Chick-fil-A, and it's a really good biscuit.
And I've been saying that for years.
You have. Yeah. Like I said,
and if you got a good biscuit at the airport, that's impressive. Because it's usually, Chick-fil-A is usually not as good at the airport as it is somewhere else. But I'm telling you, Chick-fil-A, cheese, egg, and chicken is my favorite biscuit. And that's a killer.
Yeah. I was genuinely shocked. I was like, if I got this at any restaurant, I would be impressed with this biscuit. So.
And you got it at the airport in New Orleans?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they have it at San Francisco Airport. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So that's my pseudo.
If you haven't been to New Orleans Airport yet, the new airport in New Orleans is phenomenal. Way better than any. It's like you can't even compare the old airport in New Orleans with the new airport.
No, as I've told people though, from time to time, if I'm just taking a quickie Southwest flight, part of me misses the old tiny dump of an airport just because it was just, there's nowhere to go. You walk in, you go through security.
There's nowhere to go.
You're at your gate, yeah. If you have to spend any time there, the new one is far better because they've added, like a lot of airports, they've added some local restaurants that do, like the Lucky Hot Dog Cart and, Dookie Chase and some other established New Orleans brands. So you get a little taste of New Orleans with the air. And again, it's better air that you can feel the air conditioning in the new one, so it wins.
And there's a Cafe Du Monde in the airport too.
There is. There definitely is. But you don't want to come visit us until like October if you're coming to New Orleans. Anybody listening, that would be the first time you'd want to be back down here.
Well, watch the Dame story. Watch the Ricky Fowler story. Definitely watch the Home Run Derby coming up next week.
Yeah. And see whose season goes in a tank after having a really good first season and then screws up his swing in the Home Run Derby somehow, which is always a story every year. All right, we'll be back next week.
Peace out.